Well, hello there, Lurks here, and I am live streaming for the very first time. Hopefully the audio and the video are good enough and you can see me and you can hear me. So what I'm doing today is my panel on getting started with Furry, YouTube, and other video-based content creation. I've done this one I've hosted this panel at Denver, Anthro Weekend, Utah, and I've been involved in similar ones at Midwest Fur Fest, including one last year, which was more of a Q&A. But this one is kind of intended to be more of a educational type thing about some of the logistics of getting started creating furry content. We'll have a Q&A at the end. I'm going to keep this as brief as I can. Usually it's an hour, but I know that people's attention spans might be a little bit greater when they're actually in a panel at a convention, sitting down, not wanting to insult the panel host by walking out. YouTube, I realize people within 15, 20 minutes are probably looking for something else to do. So we'll kind of knock this out real quick. And let's see. Yes, I should be able to read questions if you type them. It'll take a little bit of work because obviously I have a fursuit head on. But yay, it looks like I have 2 people watching. So yeah, normally I have this little funny video that I filmed of me just completely screwing up and botching a video, and then we go through it and we talk about some of the things that I did wrong. Unfortunately, I discovered during the last 2 hours that you need a PhD in computer science to make Streamlabs OBS work with YouTube. They just don't want to talk to each other no matter what I do. So I'm just doing an old-fashioned regular YouTube live stream. So I can't show the video, but we'll talk about the stuff that was in there and we'll talk about some other things. Okay, so you want to make a quality video. You want to make a video that people are interested in actually watching. There's about 5 components to making a quality video. The first one is lighting. Now, this is the first time I've live streamed. Hopefully my lighting is good, but I have some natural lighting going on. I have some room lighting and I have a specific light focused on me. This suit especially can be kind of difficult to see because it's black. You need a little bit extra light. Now, you don't have to be super fancy about it, but just make sure you're lighting your shot properly. That's kind of the first thing with cinematography. The first thing you do is you light your shot. So you can use a little LED light if you have good light. Natural lighting, like sunlight, is actually the best. It's got the best color to it, but there are some good LED lights that you can mix and match the white and yellow and get a pretty nice color. There's a variety of stuff you can get lighting online for really, really cheap, and it makes a huge difference. If your scene is too dark, it's just people aren't going to enjoy watching it as much. It's not going to look professional. It's not going to look like you really put the time in to make a good product. So what I use, I actually just upgraded to some LED lights, which are really nice, and you can tweak the color and stuff. The other thing, if you're using a phone or you're using a more basic camera to record, the other thing to consider is that if you don't have enough lighting, the camera is going to have to actually compensate for that by upping the ISO or the ISO. That ends up with potentially grainy video and it doesn't look as good. So make sure your scene is lit. So that's the first thing. And the next thing, of course, going along with lighting is audio. You want to have good audio. This is something that a lot of furry YouTubers struggle with, and I struggled with a lot in the beginning of my channel. It took a long time for me to figure out how to actually make it sound good, because your voice is going to be muffled inside your fursuit head, and if you're using like a built-in camera microphone or a phone mic from across the room, it's going to sound awful. So ideally, you want to at least have a decent quality USB mic. Sometimes, if you want to, you can just have it in the shot. I think Odin Wolf does that. Some people just have the mic in the shot and nobody really cares. Or you can go with the solution that I've come up with, which is to I'll show it to you here. Sorry if it makes clicking and stuff. You can see under my tongue there is the stereo lavalier mic. Now, the only disadvantage I found with that, I found that it makes the absolute best possible sound from inside a fursuit head. The only thing is that, as you may have noticed, it does pick up breathing sounds. Now, when I do a regular video, I'll actually extract the audio and clean up those breathing sounds and get rid of them. But right now, since I'm live, you're probably hearing a bit of breathing. Now, that's another thing you can do if you want your sound to be really good. You can use a program like Audacity, and you can actually extract the sound from the video, edit it, get it all equalized, get any background noise cleaned up, breathing sounds, whatever you want out of there. And then you can use your video editing software and take that new soundtrack that you made and actually combine it with the video. You'll want to actually mute your the original video so you're not getting that sound, and you'll use the sound from the other one. You just make sure you don't change the timing or actually delete any segments of it, because that'll screw things up and it won't line up right anymore. But that's what I do. I actually I take pride in having good audio, and I think it really contributes to the overall quality of my videos. All right, next thing here. Next thing is framing. Now, you'll notice that hopefully I am in the center of the shot. Most of the important part of my head here is in the shot. Sometimes the tips of my ears might get cut off a little bit. But you see people screwing this up sometimes, especially when they use phones. They'll just have their phone leaning up against a stack of books or something, and it'll be crooked, or they'll be like off in one side of the shot, or they'll have like, you know, half their head cut off or something. It's something you can fix really easily. It just takes a little bit of effort when you're planning your video. Do some tests with your camera. Like with your phone, you can see on the screen. One of the things I use is an LED screen that attaches to my camera that's big, and I can see through my fursuit head. And that one will actually, that'll help me make sure I'm lined up perfectly in the shot. You know, just another thing that adds to the overall quality of your videos. And some people can get away with having funky framing. Like if you have a good enough personality, people are going to watch you regardless. I mean, like Ragehound and Bolt Mutt, they just throw a phone up there real quick and they make their video, and it's still good, even though sometimes it's a little crooked or they're out of frame or whatever, or the angle's funny. So I mean, there are exceptions to all these rules. There are a lot of good YouTubers that can kind of cheat on some of these things, but this is sort of giving you the ideal, in my opinion, of how to make the really good quality video. So that comes to the camera itself. Now, thankfully, we live in an age where we all have cell phones. Pretty much all cell phones now are capable of doing 1080p. And that's really all you need. You don't have to use 4K for YouTube. Most YouTube viewers are looking on a small format type screen like a phone or a computer monitor. I mean, 4K is awesome. If you have the equipment to edit it and the bandwidth to upload it, you can go ahead and do 4K, but you really don't need to. It's not an expectation yet. So 1080p is good. If you can't do 1080, at least 720, you at least get that widescreen effect, the 16:9 ratio with 720p. So that's perfectly acceptable if you can't do 1080, but most phones are going to be able to do 1080, and that's what you want to use. And if you use your phone, make sure you put it in landscape mode, or you're going to get a funny, unless you're making a TikTok video that goes in portrait mode. Well, if you live in the US, good luck with that. Sounds like they're banning TikTok, but for YouTube and pretty much everything else, yeah, definitely use landscape mode on your phone. So if you don't want to use your phone, the next kind of upgrade you can do is using a point and shoot camera. These can be bought pretty inexpensively. You can find them at garage sales and on YouTube for next to eBay for next to nothing, because nobody uses them anymore because, well, they use their phone as a camera. And you can get these little point and shoot cameras super cheap. And a lot of times there'll be a little bit of an upgrade over a phone. They'll have more zoom capability. They'll have capability of putting in an external microphone. Storage works easier. You can take a card in and out a lot quicker than you can get stuff off of a phone. So I know a lot of YouTubers are using the point and shoot type cameras. I was going to have one up here as a example to show you, but I couldn't find it. Now the third option is a DSLR. That's the big professional looking camera with the interchangeable lenses. My opinion is if you're just making video content, don't buy a DSLR. They're very expensive. I mean, they can be had for like $400 or $500 at the lowest end. But if you're not going to do still photography as a hobby, you really don't want to buy a DSLR just for video unless you're like a total professional. So I do still photography as a hobby. So I have a very nice DSLR because I can justify the cost because I'm getting more use out of it than just having it sitting on a tripod taking YouTube videos. If you can get your hands on a DSLR, I mean, they're awesome. Do some research, watch some tutorials about how to set it up. You're going to want to use manual settings to get it the best. Look at different lenses and what you need to use, what's best for filming. I mean, DSLRs can make some amazing quality video. But again, it's kind of overkill for YouTube considering where people are watching it. They're not watching it on a movie screen. So there's my spiel about cameras. If you have any questions, I'll try to look here once I'm done with this toward the end. If you have any questions, I can try to answer those about settings or anything like that, but I won't geek out on camera settings right now because I'm not sure that you guys are that interested in that. All right, so the next important step in making a good quality video is planning. Now, I suppose there are some YouTubers that can just turn the camera on and start talking, and what they say is coherent, and they make the points they want to say, and they don't forget what they want to say or talk awkwardly, just like I am right now. But yeah, you need to plan it out. Now, you can go from just planning it out in your head, spending some time thinking about what you want to say, rehearsing what you want to say. You can write it down on a whiteboard, put it up on a computer screen if you're close enough that you can actually read that. That's another issue, is you're not going to have very good vision out of these. Or you can do what I do, is I actually script the video out on a teleprompter most of the time. Obviously, I'm not doing that now, but I'll script it out on a teleprompter. I'll have that just off camera scrolling so I can talk with it. Now, if you do that, the important thing is you need to type as if you were talking. Otherwise, it's going to sound like you're reading from a textbook or something, and it's going to sound stiff and awkward and not really natural. So you want to actually type out your script on the teleprompter app as if you were actually speaking, with the same contractions and little things that you do when you speak that you might not do when you're actually writing something. So something to consider so it's not obvious that you're using a teleprompter. Now, you can, of course, also record the audio separately, especially if you have a fursuit head. I used to do that. I would actually have my script up on the computer screen. I'd have my USB mic in front of me. I'd record the audio really nice and perfect. And then I would play that back as I was filming the video portion of it. I'd mute my camera, and then I would gesture as if I was actually speaking. I wouldn't recommend that. A lot of people commented on my earlier videos that they really did not like that, and that it was obvious, and as good as you make it look, it can be obvious. So I got away from doing that and went back to recording audio once I discovered the trick with the lapel mic hidden inside my suit head. Now, of course, if you're not recording in suit, that takes away some of the complications. A lot of people will just record their audio, and then they'll go ahead and have like expression sheets of their character, like little artwork expression things that change depending on the topic. If they're angry, they'll have an angry looking like sticker or expression that comes up. So they're not actually showing their face or their fursuit head. It's perfectly valid. A lot of actually some pretty big YouTubers do that. Okay, so yeah, think about what you're going to say before you say it and before you start recording. If you don't, it's going to come out just awkward looking, and you're going to forget some of the points you wanted to make, and the ones you do make might not come out as smoothly as you wanted them to. So, I mean, at least a minimal amount of planning, if not fully scripting. I mean, that's kind of overkill for YouTube and whatever social media you want to make videos for. But, at least think about it and try to have a professional appearance as far as speaking coherently and not wasting people's time. Okay, so now you got all that down, you're set up, you've practiced, you're convinced that you can make a quality video. So the next thing you want to think about is, what is your content going to be and who is your audience going to be? So one thing you can do, there are tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of furry YouTube videos out there. There are probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of them by now. There's nothing wrong with watching other people's videos. You don't want to just copy something, but you can get ideas even just from the titles of other videos to see what are these popular content creators making? What are they making that's being watched a lot? What gets the best views? And kind of use that as an idea for what kind of content people want to see. Now, you need to remember who your audience is going to be. The furry fandom, assuming that you're making furry related content, the furry fandom is growing rapidly. Most of the new people coming into it are younger. Obviously, we have a very strong LGBT contingent. So you don't have to pander toward a specific audience and make stuff specifically for them. I mean, a lot of people, once they decide they like your content and they start watching your channel, will watch pretty much anything. But I would say, still be creative, have your own ideas. Don't necessarily make content specifically for a certain group, but understand that if you make content that's not going to be appealing to that group, it's probably not going to do well. Like I made a video, probably 6 months ago. I couldn't think of a topic, and I was like, maybe I'll do a video on good and bad things about the 1980s. So that one bombed. Didn't do well at all. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, why didn't it do well? Well, oh yeah, the average furry YouTube viewer is probably like between 15 and 25 years old. And the 80s were like their parents' generation. They're not interested in that. So I kind of learned a lesson from that. Like, yeah, I need to at least make sure I'm making videos. I'm not making videos on topics that are going to be uninteresting to the majority of my audience. So just something to consider. You can kind of take your content in all kinds of different directions within the furry realm. Obviously, I do music-related stuff, and that's kind of my little niche that I found. I also do informational stuff like this, obviously, but there's always some musical component. And if you have something like that in your content that kind of catches people and brings them back and is a little bit different than what other people are doing, even if you're talking about similar topics that other furry YouTubers talk about, like I said in the beginning of this little section, look at what other people are doing and what's working, and borrowing people's ideas, as long as you're not like blatantly ripping them off, there's nothing wrong with that. But anyway, yeah, so know your audience and make sure you are not making stuff that they don't want to see. I guess that's the best advice I could give in that category. So moving on to the next thing I'm going to talk about. This is kind of an important one in terms of motivation and expectations. You have to have realistic expectations. You're not going to be the next Majira. I'm not going to be the next Majira. You're not going to be the next Pokari or Odin Wolf. things have changed on YouTube. And again, here I'm talking specifically about YouTube, but this somewhat applies to other social media and video sharing platforms as well. Back in like 2015, when a lot of these big furry YouTubers started, it was a whole different scene. There were all these young people coming into the furry fandom. That generation really watched a lot of YouTube. And YouTube was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And there was this vacuum that needed to be filled by furry YouTube content. And those creators like Majira and Odin and Ragehound and Hawthorne, and the list goes on and on and on and on, who jumped onto YouTube right then, or even a year or two before that, are the ones now that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. So since then, since around, you could still have a very successful, fast-growing furry YouTube channel, definitely through 2016 and 2017. Late 2017, things started to change. The market started getting saturated with furry YouTube content. The given viewer only has so much time to actually watch furry YouTube content, and it has gotten to the point now where there are so many channels out there and there's so much content there. One person can only view so much content. So that definitely made it start to get harder to grow really quickly and to get a lot of subscribers really fast, because there's just too much competition. Now, the second thing is, around that time, YouTube's algorithms changed, and they are no longer as kind to smaller creators, which I still am in that category. I only have about 3,500 subscribers, so I'm definitely not even a medium-sized furry channel. But YouTube's not promoting you and recommending you as much as they used to. They're putting more of that energy into the bigger creators, the ones that make them more money, because that's what it's about, is making money. Unfortunately, YouTube's not around for the artistic. They're not around to be altruistic and to help people out. They're around to make money. I mean, that's the bottom line. So they're going to start pushing these bigger creators, and the ones that got big enough, early enough, are the ones that are going to continue to get promoted and grow and grow and grow. Like, Majira and Furry and channels of that size now. YouTube's starting to see that, yeah, they're making them a bunch of money. They're getting a bunch of ad clicks, blah, blah, blah. So YouTube's going to be recommending that stuff more heavily than little creators like me, or it's going to be even tougher for somebody just starting out. Now, I don't want to be discouraging. You can do it. You can build a following. You can get subscribers. There's a couple tricks to it. Now, one, you might just be able to get really lucky, or if you know some other furry YouTubers that are much bigger than you are, that certainly helps. They can kind of help you cross-promote your channel. The biggest thing is, though, if you're somebody like me who started out not knowing any other furry YouTubers, I completely started from scratch with just a kind of questionable quality fursuit head and a camera. So you have to be persistent and you have to be consistent. You got to upload regularly, preferably once a week. If you're starting to grow and you want to grow your channel, you're going to have to put out content once a week. I mean, if you can't do it once a week, once every 2 weeks, every once in a while, I've sort of slowed down to once every 2 weeks or 3 times a month right now, because I've grown a little bit to the point where I don't have to keep pushing stuff out there. Now, don't put bad content out there. Still make sure that, if you're going to put content out there, it's good. However, yeah, more quantity is important early on. Now, YouTube's algorithms change, and sometimes it varies, quality versus quantity versus length versus whatever YouTube's looking at the time. But you just have to be persistent, and you can't get frustrated. I've almost quit twice because I was so frustrated with how few views and subscribers I was getting. And I just pushed through. I was like, no, I got too much invested into this. I've got too many people that want to watch my content, and I'm going to keep going. So I did. And yeah, it's going to take a long time. YouTube is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't look at those people who started years ago who had massive success. The whole situation is different now. If you look at some of the people that started around the same time I did, most of us are pretty similar, around 3,000, 4,000 subscribers. If, like I did, they kept putting stuff out and putting stuff out and putting stuff out and just were persistent. Some of the ones who have actually grown a little bit bigger than that, very few people I can think of that started 2018 or later who really exploded in popularity. Two of them, to the two exceptions, would be Jib Cody and Zillion Ross, who are both very talented artists, and we're an art-based fandom. Plus, I think Zillion knows the Majira group, so that helped. But yeah, they're kind of the exceptions. The only other one I can think of that started in 2018 and has gotten pretty big is Shadow Raccoon, and I'm sure there are others. But if you look at his content, it's every week, very consistent, very well thought out, researched, good topics, entertaining. He's a really good one, a really good example of how you can actually, of the quality you have to and the quantity you have to put out to really grow on YouTube these days. But don't get discouraged. You can do it, but I don't want to sound too negative about it, but I just want everyone to have, again, realistic expectations that you're not going to probably be a superstar, but you're going to have a lot of people around the world who look up to you and enjoy your content and want to see more of it. And that's a pretty awesome experience. Let's see, what else can we cover? Oh yeah, here's something I learned over a year after I started my channel. YouTube, when you make a video, will just pick out a few frames from the video and let you pick from those for the video thumbnail, or that's a little image that you see before you click on the video. You want to make, they're usually not very good. You want to make custom, interesting looking thumbnails. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time. My rule is I don't spend more than 20 minutes on a thumbnail. But you get yourself a background, make sure it's the same size as the widescreen format, like 1920 by 1080 is 1080p. And then you get something that you just go on Google Images, find something that's relevant to whatever you're talking about that week. If you have like a Telegram sticker pack or some artwork of your character, you can slap an emotion sticker over there that's relevant to what you're talking about. You know, some other pictures of various stuff. Like if you look at the thumbnail for this one, for this live stream, as an example, I've got a bunch of cameras in the background. Then I've got a YouTube play button, and I've got an expression or a Telegram sticker expression of one of my characters, kind of with a question mark, like kind of thing. So yeah, those will go a long way in making your content look more professional and in actually getting people to click on your videos if you have good thumbnails. I learned that one late. All right, phew. So how long has it been now? We've been going for almost a half an hour. So this is getting to the length of a normal convention panel, actually. So I'm sure I forgot a couple of things, but right now I'm going to take a peek up here and see if anybody has asked questions. And I will answer your questions, assuming I can read them. Hello, everyone. Yeah, reading tiny little text with a fursuit head on is quite challenging. So if anybody did have any questions, I'll tell you what, why don't you type them again right now, and that way they'll be at the bottom of the screen and I'll be able to see them more easily, because scrolling up there, I'm just seeing like a bunch of little blurry dots. Oh, yes, of course. Thank you very much for that question. T the one. Yes. So video editing software. Yeah, this is always the best way to start an argument in a room full of video content producers is to start talking about video editing software. There's a huge variety. You don't have to pay $300 or 10, 20 bucks a month for the Adobe stuff. You can get good video editing software for free. The basic version of DaVinci Resolve is one of the most highly recommended free ones. I actually have that, but I haven't transitioned to it yet. I just use a free one called Shotcut. Back when I started editing, Shotcut was like the best rated free software in whatever article I read. I learned to use it. It's got some things you have to get used to, but I learned to use it, and I just got so used to it that I use it really efficiently now, and I haven't found a need to go with anything more expensive. I mean, I've considered doing the Adobe thing now that I've got some patrons that are giving me some monthly income for my videos, but I don't know. I like Shotcut personally. I don't know of any other furry YouTuber who uses Shotcut, but it really doesn't matter. Just find something that works for you. And once you're comfortable with it and really efficient at using it, I mean, just stick to it, I guess. Not really, I don't see any reason to change personally because I've got something that works for me and I didn't pay a dime for it. Jeremy Herrera asks, what's the most affordable choice in lighting? The big brand out there that Amazon sells a lot is called Neewer. It's Neewer. Their stuff is usually pretty highly rated and it's reasonably priced. I mean, some of it's actually pretty cheap. But most of the best thing to do, I think, is to go on Amazon and look at the reviews because there's some garbage out there. And there's also some really good stuff. I mean, you can spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on lighting if you want to. I just upgraded to some pretty high-end Neewer LED lights because I had the income from Patreon to actually do it, and I like to put that income back into my channel rather than just pocketing it. Yeah, just do some research, check Amazon. Neewer is a big one again. That's what I've been using. The LED stuff is really awesome. If you do get LED lights, it's try to get something that you can change the color of the lighting. Like you can balance the white versus yellow because you can get a more natural, more daylight kind of effect with that. If you get the cheaper ones, sometimes it's just going to kind of blast you with white light, and that doesn't look so great. It looks like one of the old-fashioned fluorescent lights or something, and that's not a good look. Thank you, Storm Lusky, for saying my suit is cute. That's really cool. All right. I'm sorry if hopefully I'm not missing. What's the best way to get rid of background noise in the audio? Aristogo. Again, use an audio editing program, extract the audio out of the video, edit it. If you use Audacity, it's a cheap, actually it's a free program. And there's some plugins you have to find to work with MP3 and MP4 files in it, but they're really simple to locate online. You have to get them separately from Audacity because I guess there's some kind of legal thing where they can't give it to you out of the box with the ability to work with MP3 and MP4s. So you got to find these little plugins, but they're easy to find. Yeah, you go to extract audio. It'll make an MP3 or a Audacity format track, and then you can do your editing. There's a noise elimination feature in Audacity that works really well unless there's like a massive amount of noise. Like it'll get rid of any kind of droning, steady background noise as long as it's not too loud. But if you got like traffic going by outside or something, you can't get rid of that. You're just gonna have to work with what you got, put some soundproofing up in the room, and or maybe find another room to film in that case. But yeah, use Audacity, look up a tutorial on that, and it'll tell you how to pull that background noise out of there. Okay, I lost internet connection. Did you read my comments, Tyler? Sorry, Tyler. Yeah, I saw some of your comments. If you had a question, go ahead and type it again because it's scrolled up too far and I'm having trouble seeing. Kaylin Young, what are your favorite songs to play on the guitar, and when did you start playing guitar? Wow, favorite songs to play on guitar. Honestly, I think my two favorites that I did for guitar challenges on YouTube were The solo from Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. I mean, anything. David Gilmour is such an amazing guitarist. Just playing any of his stuff is so, it's tough to learn, but it's really satisfying. Another one that I really had fun with learning for this channel actually was another solo. It was a solo from Eastbound and Down by Jerry Reed. It's kind of known as the theme song from the old movie Smokey and the Bandit. That was another really awesome kind of chicken picking country song. But I mainly play like blues rock and stuff. That's kind of my favorite. I'm not really a huge metalhead, but I can play some metal stuff, but I'm more of like a classic rock type of guy, as you can tell from my Grateful Dead t-shirt here, my vintage Grateful Dead t-shirt. Actually 25 years tomorrow since Jerry Garcia died, so I thought that would be a nice little memorial thing to wear that. I've been playing guitar since I was 12, so that's quite a while now. I'm slightly over 30, so yeah, over 20 years now. It takes a while. I mean, unless you're like a natural virtuoso, it takes a long time to really get proficient at it, but it's worth it in the end if you have the time to put into it. Brimstone the Wolf, do you look at YouTube as a job or as a fun hobby? You really need, if you start looking at making YouTube videos as a job, it's not going to be fun anymore. So going back to what I was saying about having reasonable expectations about how much your channel is going to grow and how fast, look at it as something fun. If it becomes to where it's not fun, and it's happened to me a couple times where I was just like, I have to put a video out this week. I have to put a video out. And I end up throwing something together and it's not that good and it's stressful. And yeah, making videos, that's a really good point that I usually do make during this panel, but thank you for reminding me. Yeah, making video content should be fun. It shouldn't be work. And definitely consider taking a break if it becomes work and starts stressing you out. Let's see, Tyler, the camera is 720p and my action camera is 4K. I can only process 1080p max. Yeah, that's a good point. Even if you have the ability to film 4K, you may not be able to edit and forgetting the word, not resolve. You may not be able to edit 4K unless you have a really good, almost like a gaming quality computer. That's really what you need to be able to even process 4K. So that's another consideration. Like I was saying earlier, you don't really need to use 4K. 1080p works perfectly fine, and nobody expects 4K at this point. There might be some time in the future where that becomes the case, but for now, just, yeah, 1080p is fine. 720p is honestly fine too. I mean, most people are watching YouTube content or social media content on small screens anyway, where they're not really going to notice the difference in resolution. But definitely, yeah, 480 is no anymore. You don't want to have that square resolution. People just don't like that anymore. Is AC/DC one of your favorite classic rock songs? I am actually not a huge AC/DC fan. I like some of their stuff, but I'm not like, they're not a band where I like have all their albums or something. I can listen to them, but yeah, they're just like, I like them, but they're not one of my favorites. Rush is my favorite band of all time. I was lucky enough to be able to see Rush perform live 3 times later in their career, and it was awesome. They were such a great band, and it really sucks that they're gone and or retired at this point. Bink, to answer your question there, if you filmed yourself turning an old computer into a network attached storage while in fursuit, would somebody watch it? Yes, somebody will watch it. If you film anything in a fursuit, somebody will watch it. Doesn't necessarily mean that a lot of people will watch it, especially if it's kind of niche or weird content. But yeah, no matter what you put on YouTube, someone will watch it. I'm sorry if I'm missing any of these questions. Again, it's really hard to read. Tyler, how did you get all your subscribers? Persistence and consistency. Again, putting out content every week at first, and then now sometimes every 2 weeks, but still I try to put out something every week. Making sure that, you follow all the stuff I talked about earlier to make good quality content, research it, make sure I don't want to curse on my channel, but don't just post. Think about what you're putting out there, make good quality content, and do it as often as you possibly can while still making good quality stuff. And it's going to take you a long time. I started in mid-March of 2018, so it's been 2.5 years now, and I am still only at 3,500 subscribers. It's just not as easy as it used to be to grow a furry YouTube channel anymore. But I'm happy with what I have, and the cool thing is a lot of my subscribers are very loyal. Like, they watch every one of my videos. They comment on every one of my videos, and it's because I kind of made my own little niche thing with the music and furry combined. I think I have maybe my subscribers tend to be a little bit more loyal than some others. I'm not sure, but yeah, it takes a lot of hard work and persistence to get a bunch of subscribers, but you can do it if you keep going. Again, YouTube is a marathon, not a sprint, and it just takes time. How about Thunderstruck, Classic Rock Kiss, Blackjack, Guns N' Roses? I am not familiar with Blackjack. Is that a Thunderstruck? Yeah, that's one of my favorite AC/DC songs is Thunderstruck. Kiss. Kiss, yeah, I'm not an enormous Kiss fan, but I do like some of their stuff. I would say, what's my favorite Kiss song? Probably God of Thunder or Black Diamond. Guns N' Roses, yes, definitely. I like me some GNR, especially from Appetite for Destruction and Use Your Illusions. Some of their stuff was kind of meh in between, but yeah, I do like Guns N' Roses. Slash is another really awesome guitarist it's really fun to play his stuff and really challenging to learn. Can you play Master of Puppets? Oh, wait, I think I missed something. Oh, I have not seen, I actually feel really guilty about this. I have not watched The Fandom yet by Ash Coyote, which I feel bad about because I'm personal friends with Ash, and she actually co-hosted this panel, the YouTuber panel at Denver with me last summer. So yeah, thank you for reminding me. I really need to watch that. And yes, I can play Master of Puppets. That's the next question. I played it as a guitar challenge on one of my videos probably last year at some point. But that one is oh wait, no, did I? No, that was Enter Sandman. Actually, I don't know if I have played Master of Puppets, or I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I have. It's starting to blend together. I am actually, I think the next time or the second to next time I do a video will be my 100th guitar challenge on YouTube. So that's pretty cool. I guess I'll have to do something to celebrate that. Hey, Ribbits, Opie Day. Hey, hope you're doing great. Hey, good to see you. Awesome that you tuned into my first ever live stream. Opie Day, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, was my roommate at my first ever furry convention that I ever attended, and that was one of the most epic experiences of my entire life. Awesome artist. Did my channel art, actually my banner art with Riv and Lurks with their locked elbows together. That is their artwork, so check them out. What smartphone do you have? What's up, bro? What's up? What smartphone do I have? I have a Samsung Galaxy S9. I thought about upgrading to the fancy new S20, but it's like $1,100, and the S9 works really well for everything I need it to do. It's like not slowing down at all. I have tons of apps I run on it, and it's just perfect. It's really good for filming too. I have like one of those gimbal things. I can film at conventions. I can run around, film fursuiters and stuff, and I just use my phone for that. I don't even bring out the big DSLR camera for that, and it works just fine. So yeah, I'm not like a real brand loyal kind of person. I'm not like, oh, never own anything but a Toyota kind of guy. But Samsung, I am very brand loyal to their phones. I like pretty much everything about them. Can you play Enter Sandman? Yes, I have also done that very early on in my YouTube guitar challenges. I did Enter Sandman, and I actually did it again because it got requested so many times. If you go back and look at my 3,000 subscriber guitar challenge-a-thon video, I actually play Enter Sandman, just the very beginning of it, but I believe I played that again there. That's one of my more recent videos. It's probably only from a couple of months ago. I like how this went from how to make YouTube videos to can you play this on guitar? Yeah, that's kind of the plan. I just wanted it to be a kind of a Q&A toward the end. Yeah, since I've never done a live stream before and never been able to interact in real time with people other than like on Discord and Telegram and stuff. Yeah, I'm more than happy to answer questions. I am not overheating and pouring sweat yet, so I can hang out for a little while longer and keep talking to you guys. It's not a problem. I have no other plans. I'm actually on vacation right now because I took time off of work for Denver and Megaplex, and obviously those conventions didn't happen, so I've got a bunch of time off of work to do just about nothing. And again, I apologize if I missed any questions. It's difficult to see. This is a learning experience for me. It's tough for me to see out of the fursuit eyes to see the tiny little text that's on the side of my monitor. And plus I have YouTube up on my upper monitor. I have one on top of another, so it's kind of like up here. My dad is planning on buying me a bigger guitar amp. Bigger guitar amps are always a good thing. Make your neighbors mad. Is it just me or are you the best furry ever? And I am not even a furry myself. Rock and roll with it. Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. I don't think I've ever been called the best furry ever before. But I try to set, in all seriousness, I do try to set a good example. I try to keep my content family friendly. That's another thing I didn't mention earlier, but I find that I've benefited more by keeping my content family friendly than I would by going the other way with it. I want to be there for, and available for everyone and welcoming to people of all ages. So I try to be that good furry and stay away from the profanity and the references to some of the other activities that go on in the fringes of our fandom. We'll leave it at that. I love your fursuit head. Thank you, Lloyd. How soon do I plan on going back to the con scene? I'm still waiting. All of mine have been canceled this year except Anthro Northwest. That one's in Seattle in November. I don't think there's any chance that's going to happen. Basically, I am going to start going back to conventions once there is a vaccine for this virus. Or maybe like if Australia completely wipes out their cases and they start letting in visitors from other countries again, I might try to go to Furry next year. Hopefully the virus is under control or there's a vaccine by the time Texas Furry Fiesta happens, but I guess that would be the simple answer. My next planned convention would be Texas Furry Fiesta in early spring of next year. Whether or not that happens is still up in the air, but that's the plan. Love you guys. Make me smile. I love it. Thanks a lot. Awesome. Thank you. A lot of video. Okay, I'm starting to. The comments are starting to run away from me here. What inspired you to play guitar? Basically, I just wanted to be like my musical heroes that I saw on MTV and heard on the radio. I was like, I want to do that. My mom actually played guitar. She just played like a nylon string classical, which you can actually see in the background behind me, hanging on the wall. But yeah, I wanted to play that rock and roll. Preferred brand or type of guitar? No, I have not worn my suit head out to a shop like a mask. I actually don't suit in public other than at cons. I'm not sure how well that would go over where I live. Do you have a favorite brand or type of guitar? Yes, I would say if you look at my guitars behind me, you can kind of see them in the mirror, and then on the other side, I would say Gibson is probably my favorite brand of guitar. I have a Gibson 5-string bass. I have a Gibson SG. I have a Gibson J35 acoustic. And I also have an Epiphone SG that was the first guitar I bought back in college. Well, actually, no, it wasn't my first guitar, but it was a guitar I bought in college that I still own. Also, I have a couple of G&L. Stands for George and Leo. It was a company that was founded by Leo Fender after he sold the Fender Corporation to CBS back in the 60s. It was in the 70s he founded G&L, and he kind of made some improved versions of the classic Fender guitars, and I find they're better quality than the actual Fender products, except for my 4-string bass, the black one I think you can see back there. That is a Fender made in Mexico jazz bass, and it's an awesome bass. I have no complaints about that one. But I've had some American-made Fender guitars, like fairly expensive ones that honestly sucked. So I buy G&Ls when I want a Fender-style guitar. I currently have a Strat-style one, the white one, and then the one on the bottom there, that butterscotch-colored Telecaster-style one is a G&L. So really long, complicated answer to a very short question. Wanted to go to Megaplex, but now I can't afford to. Well, yeah, it's canceled anyway, so hopefully you can go next year. I really want to go to Megaplex again every year because my best friend lives in Florida near Orlando, and it's the only time of the year we can actually see each other. He unfortunately doesn't have a good enough job to be able to get a lot of paid time off or to travel, so he's kind of stuck there. So I have to go visit him, and Megaplex is the only time in the year we can visit each other, which is sort of it makes it especially sad this year that Megaplex got canceled, and it's going to be probably 2 years in between us actually being able to hang out in person. But it'll be an amazing reunion when it happens. Works, your videos are awesome. Thank you, Heather. Wait, are you from America? Yes, I am from America. I live in New Mexico. I used to live in Colorado and actually a lot of other places too, but I was in Colorado when I started my YouTube channel, and I recently moved to New Mexico for a better job and better living conditions in general. I was living in a really, really isolated place in Colorado that my job forced me to live at. And here I actually live in town. I have awesome internet. Like, obviously, I can live stream now, which I never would have been able to do with satellite internet in Colorado where I used to live. So, yes, I am. Thankfully, New Mexico has been pretty good about the COVID restrictions, about keeping them pretty tight, and our infection rate is not anywhere near what it is in the neighboring states of Texas and Arizona. Thank you, thank you. What are your thoughts on conventions having a wait list to attend them, similar to fursuit maker wait lists? Um, wow. Hopefully, we don't get to the point where the conventions are so popular that there has to be a wait list. But I know certain conventions do actually limit attendance, like Furry in Australia. I almost didn't get to go in 2019 because I didn't realize they cut off registration at like 600 people or 800 people or something, and then after that you can't go. So I think I was thinking honestly that Midwest Fur Fest needed to cap registration eventually, but then it actually went down slightly last year, partially because of their new lottery system for the hotel. That a lot of people were just like, oh, if I can't get a room at the main hotel, I'm not going to go, and so their numbers actually went down a bit. But yeah, hopefully that doesn't come to a point. That would have to be pretty extreme if that many people were wanting to go to attend conventions that they actually had to make a wait list. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I mean, getting a hotel room can be bad enough, but usually you can actually get in the convention at least. It makes sense. Who did your head? This is usually in my videos. I wear my full suit, but I do. This is a full digitigrade suit. But since I was going to be in suit for a long time, I just decided to partial today. This is made by Kaiju Costumes. Kaiju, like the species of Godzilla. Smaller fursuit maker, but super good quality. They did a really wonderful job on this one. Really affordable too. They are, I think they've taken all their commissions for 2020, but they'll be open again in 2021. Highly recommended. This suit is cost a fraction of what my other suit cost, and the quality is just as good. Do you plan to attend FWA in the future? At some point in the future, I would like to attend FWA or Furry Week in Atlanta. My microphone is slipping. There we go. That's one on my list. I would like to attend at some point. I'm not sure when, but I will definitely someday go to FWA. I have a certain number of cons that I will go to every single year, and then I rotate some other ones. So that's kind of the way I do it. What are your favorite bands? My favorite band is Rush. I am a huge mega Rush fan. I tend to like a lot of kind of progressive rock, 1970s stuff. I like some 80s stuff too, but I'm like one of those people that 90% of the music I listen to is from way before my generation. So like I am a big fan of Rush, Jethro Tull, which used to be like a huge band in the 70s, and a lot of people haven't heard of them anymore, but they're a really good progressive rock band. I do like the Grateful Dead. My Grateful Dead shirt on right now, and some of those jam bands like that too, like Fish and Humphreys McGee, stuff like that. But yeah, Ozzy, Black Sabbath. I'm a huge Black Sabbath fan. I just bought their box set with all 7 of their albums with Ozzy, or their original albums on it, last year. So I've been listening to a lot of Sabbath. Frog Canadian rock, yes. Gentle Giant. I do not know a whole lot about Gentle Giant. I have heard of them, but couldn't tell you much about them. Are you, nice tie-dye, thank you. Are you planning on traveling abroad once things have calmed down? Yes, definitely. I actually postponed a trip to Spain with my sister. It was supposed to happen in spring of this year. Obviously, Spain was like one of the worst hit countries, so we couldn't go. I try to go every other year. My sister and I go on a overseas vacation. We went to Ireland last time. We were supposed to go to Spain, so that'll happen once the COVID thing gets under control. We'll do the Spain vacation again, and then I am also hoping to go back to Furry in Australia at least one more time. It's kind of an ordeal to get there from the United States. It was like a 30-hour process between the flights and layovers and driving to the airport. But yeah, I definitely I enjoy traveling outside the United States as often as I can, which I mean typically is only once a year because it's really expensive. But I will resume my worldly travels once we get this virus under control. Do you know any of Joy Division and Ian Curtis? That is another band that I know very little about. I've heard of Joy Division. I believe it's in they were kind of 1980s was maybe their heyday, but I don't know much about them. George Thorogood and the Delaware Destroyers. Yes, that's another awesome classic rock blues band. Thorogood is still out there. Well, nobody's out there playing concerts anymore, but before this virus thing hit, he was out there rocking and rolling still at 60-something years old and still sounding good. And Bad to the Bone, yeah, that would be another good one for me to play. I think he plays slide on that one. I haven't ever had a guitar challenge that involves slide, which is probably a good thing because I'm not really good at playing slide. But a challenge would maybe encourage me to learn it some more. Favorite songs by the Cars. Do you have any favorite songs by the Cars? I'm gonna be that guy and pick the slow, sappy power ballad type song by the Cars, Drive. I love that song. I like a lot of their stuff, but that's my favorite. All right, the questions have finally subsided. I am starting to sweat and I'm starting to get a headache from the weight of my fursuit head. I am going to call it a stream, my very first stream. Thank you so much. All of you are awesome for tuning in. Thank you for all the positive comments and the questions. And I hope you learned something from my online version of my YouTuber panel. If you tuned in early, regardless, thank you for coming by, and I'll make this a semi-regular thing probably, since it seems to have been pretty popular. So you guys stay awesome, and I'll see you next time.